When was the last time you heard anyone discuss Vincent Motorcycles with the reverence they once commanded? Almost never. Yet there was a time when this British manufacturer built machines that redefined what motorcycles could be. The Black Shadow reached 125 miles per hour, when competitors struggled to reach 80. Vincent's engineering was so advanced that each bike took 6 months to hand build, using materials and precision that belonged in aerospace, not mass production. For nearly 3 decades, they rode this technical superiority all the way to legendary status among enthusiasts. But perfection only matters if you can afford to build it. The motorcycle industry shifted toward volume and affordability, while Vincent remained obsessed with engineering excellence. The name stayed legendary, but the business faded into history. So today is a simple question. How did Vincent create the world's most advanced motorcycles? And what made that same excellence destroy them? Philip Vincent's story begins in 1928 when, as a fresh Cambridge engineering graduate, he inherited HRD Motors. Unlike most industrialists of his time, Vincent was not primarily concerned with profit margins or volume production. He established a philosophy that would define and ultimately doom his company: to build the best regardless of cost. Vincent's early innovations demonstrated that philosophy in action. His revolutionary cantilever rear suspension system transformed ride quality, at a time when most motorcycles offered minimal shock absorption. The unit construction engine and gearbox design integrated components that competitors built separately, reducing weight while increasing rigidity. Vincent employed metallurgical techniques more common in aircraft manufacturing than in motorcycle production, using materials his competitors could not match or could not afford. Pre-war racing validated Vincent's approach. At Brooklands, the legendary British racing circuit, Vincent Motorcycles regularly set speed records that left competitors stunned. These victories weren't flukes. They were engineered inevitabilities, the result of obsessive attention to technical superiority. Every race win reinforced Vincent's reputation as the pinnacle of British engineering prowess. The market Vincent served was deliberately exclusive. While mass manufacturers targeted everyday riders, Vincent aimed for wealthy enthusiasts who valued performance and exclusivity over practicality. These customers didn't blink at price tags that could buy small houses. For them, a Vincent wasn't transportation, it was mechanical art, a statement of engineering appreciation and social status. This positioning seemed sustainable precisely because it targeted buyers who were insulated from economic concerns. These customers didn't need motorcycles, they wanted the best motorcycles, and price was secondary to excellence. The production philosophy reflected this elite positioning. Each Vincent motorcycle was treated as an individual masterpiece. Skilled craftsmen spent months on single bikes, with quality control procedures that bordered on obsession. Components weren't merely inspected, they were repeatedly tested, refined, and perfected before assembly. This wasn't manufacturing, it was mechanical sculpture, with an engineering degree. World War II fundamentally transformed the motorcycle market in ways that Vincent failed to recognize. Returning soldiers needed affordable transportation. The growing middle class wanted reliable commuting vehicles. A mass market was emerging precisely when Vincent doubled down on serving elite customers. The economic reality of Vincent's approach became increasingly problematic. Financial records reveal each Black Shadow cost over £3,000 to build but sold for £2,500. This upside-down business model survived only because of small production volumes and wealthy investor backing. The company was effectively selling prestige at a loss, hoping volume would eventually create economies of scale that never materialized. While Vincent handcrafted dozens of motorcycles monthly, competitors were transforming their approach. Triumph, BSA, and Norton invested heavily in factory automation. Assembly lines replaced individual craftsmen. Standardized components replaced custom machined parts. These manufacturers achieved economies of scale that dramatically reduced per unit costs while increasing output from hundreds to thousands of motorcycles monthly. Vincent's expense structure made profitability mathematically impossible. Premium Sheffield steel hand-machined components and specialized craftsmen commanding high wages created a cost base that no reasonable retail price could support. Most damning was Vincent's research and development spending. consuming 40% of revenue versus the industry standard of 8 to 12%. While innovation is essential, this level of investment required either massive scale or premium pricing beyond what any motorcycle market would bear. Even Vincent's distribution strategy worked against commercial success. Exclusive dealerships in wealthy areas catered to existing customers, while missing the demographic shift toward mainstream motorcycle adoption. Working-class riders, the backbone of the expanding market, rarely encountered Vincent Motorcycles. They could not afford them anyway, but this absence from major market segments meant Vincent became increasingly isolated from consumer trends. Vincent's post-1945 strategy represents one of the most fascinating case studies in business miscalculation. Rather than simplifying designs for more efficient production, the company increased engineering complexity. New models introduced even more expensive materials and manufacturing processes. Each innovation widened the gap between production cost and market pricing. The Black Shadow development epitomizes this approach. Vincent invested massive resources to create the world's fastest production motorcycle. Its 998 cubic centimeters V-twin engine produced 55 horsepower, while competitors managed 25 to 30 horsepower. The engineering achievement was unquestionable, but the business case was non-existent. The motorcycle required twice the manufacturing hours of competitors' models, while selling in numbers too small to recoup development costs. Market research consistently pointed toward consumer demand for affordable, reliable transportation. Internal memos show Vincent executives acknowledged these trends, but dismissed them as irrelevant to their premium positioning. This was not merely ignoring data, it was actively rejecting market reality in favor of engineering idealism. Investors continued funding losses based on the belief that technical superiority would eventually translate to market dominance. Board meeting minutes reveal a persistent conviction that breakthrough commercial success was imminent if the company maintained its engineering focus. This faith persisted despite mounting evidence that the motorcycle industry was evolving toward a volume-based economic model. Perhaps most telling were the rejected opportunities. Multiple manufacturers approached Vincent about licensing technology for mass production. Several proposals suggested creating budget model lines that could generate volume while maintaining premium flagships. Philip Vincent personally vetoed these initiatives, believing they would dilute the brand. These decisions preserved engineering purity at the expense of business viability. The 1948 Black Shadow launch initially seemed to validate Vincent's approach. Motorcycle Press declared it the ultimate machine. Its 125 miles per hour top speed was unprecedented, the motorcycle equivalent of breaking the sound barrier. Wealthy enthusiasts placed orders immediately, creating what appeared to be robust demand. Production reality quickly undermined this promising start. 6-month waiting lists were not the result of overwhelming demand but of production bottlenecks. Hand assembly limitations, quality control delays, and parts availability issues created an inability to meet even modest order volumes. While Triumph could adjust production to meet demand spikes, Vincent's artisanal approach created fixed capacity constraints. Competitors responded with devastating effectiveness. Triumph launched its Thunderbird at half the Black Shadow's price while delivering 80% of the performance, more than enough for most riders. BSA introduced reliable commuter models priced for working-class budgets. Norton captured the racing market with simpler, profitable designs that professionals could maintain themselves. Each competitor found sustainable market positions, while Vincent occupied an increasingly isolated premium niche. Market share figures tell the story clearly. Vincent's slice of total motorcycle sales dropped from 2.1% to 0.8% as the overall market expanded rapidly. This was not merely losing position, it was becoming increasingly irrelevant in a booming industry. The company was producing engineering masterpieces that an ever smaller percentage of motorcycle buyers could afford or appreciate. Financial strain became increasingly visible. Supplier payment terms stretched from 30 to 90 days. Research and development budgets were reduced for the first time in company history. Most concerning was the exodus of skilled craftsmen to competitors. Triumph and BSA offered better pay and job security, drawing away the very talent Vincent needed to maintain its quality standards. The company, that prided itself on engineering excellence, began losing the human capital that made that excellence possible. Production numbers tell Vincent's story with brutal clarity. Over 27 years, the company produced approximately 11,000 motorcycles total. In a single peak year, Triumph manufactured over 100,000. This scale disparity made Vincent's business model mathematically impossible. The fixed costs of engineering, tooling, and factory operation required volume that Vincent's approach could not achieve. Financial hemorrhaging accelerated as the gap between cost and price widened. Accounting records indicate each bike sold represented a net loss of £500 to £800. In today's money, Vincent consumed the equivalent of £50 million, with minimal return, an unsustainable burn rate that no amount of engineering brilliance could overcome. Investor patience, once seemingly unlimited, began showing signs of exhaustion. The market position collapsed from innovative leader to expensive curiosity. Younger buyers who should have represented Vincent's future customer base chose practical alternatives from volume manufacturers. The company's aging customer base could not sustain the business, especially as post-war economic challenges affected even wealthy enthusiasts' discretionary spending. While Vincent struggled, competitors demonstrated that commercial success and engineering quality were not mutually exclusive. Triumph, BSA, and Norton achieved profitability through volume production while continually improving their designs. These companies proved the market wanted reliability over ultimate performance and affordability over handcrafted precision. They were not building inferior motorcycles. They were building appropriate motorcycles for actual market demand. Philip Vincent's public statements during this period reveal leadership denial that bordered on delusion. He continued defending the hand-built philosophy even as the company approached bankruptcy. Trade journal interviews show Vincent rejecting the very concept of commercial compromise, insisting the market would eventually recognize the value of engineering superiority, regardless of price. This disconnect from business reality accelerated the company's decline. Vincent's first fatal mistake was prioritizing engineering perfection over market needs. The company built aerospace quality components for street motorcycles when consumers primarily valued reliability and affordability. Internal cost breakdowns show individual parts machined to tolerances unnecessary for practical use, adding expense without corresponding consumer value. While engineers appreciated this precision, customers could not justify paying for it. The second fatal error was refusing to scale production when the industry definitively shifted to mass manufacturing. Vincent maintained its hand-built philosophy despite overwhelming evidence that automation and standardization could reduce costs while maintaining quality. Even luxury car manufacturers like Rolls-Royce had incorporated assembly line techniques for standard components while reserving handcrafting for critical elements. Vincent's all-or-nothing approach to craftsmanship created an unsustainable cost structure. The third, and perhaps most significant mistake, was misreading post-war demographic shifts. Vincent targeted wealthy enthusiasts, while the market dramatically expanded among middle-class commuters. This myopia caused the company to miss the largest motorcycle boom in history by focusing on a shrinking luxury segment. Market research clearly showed this trend, but Vincent dismissed it as irrelevant to their positioning. Successful competitors demonstrated alternative approaches. Triumph balanced performance with affordability, creating motorcycles that excited riders without requiring extraordinary wealth. BSA dominated the commuter market with reliable, serviceable machines that delivered value without pretension. Norton licensed technology for revenue while maintaining premium racing models. Each found sustainable positions that Vincent could have occupied with modest compromises to its engineering absolutism. The scale economics lesson is perhaps Vincent's most important legacy. Volume production enables research and development investment, quality improvements, and market expansion that hand-built models cannot achieve. Motorcycle manufacturing's fixed costs, factory space, tooling, and engineering staff require minimum production thresholds to amortize effectively. Vincent never reached these thresholds, creating a death spiral where low volume drove high unit costs, which limited market appeal, further constraining volume. The 1955 final collapse of Vincent Motorcycles represents one of the most instructive business failures in manufacturing history. Production ceased entirely. The skilled workforce dispersed, and tooling was sold to competitors. One of Britain's most innovative motorcycle companies disappeared, not because its products were inferior, but because they were unsustainably superior. The legacy paradox is that Vincent Motorcycles now command £100,000 plus as collector items, proving quality was never the issue, and commercial viability was the fatal flaw. These machines have appreciated precisely because their engineering excellence was real, but their business model was not. They represent perfectly built products from an imperfectly structured company. Modern parallels abound for companies facing the same choice between engineering excellence and market reality. Tesla's early struggles with production scaling mirror Vincent's challenges, though Tesla eventually embraced manufacturing automation that Vincent rejected. Luxury brands from Bugatti to Leica have learned to balance craftsmanship with commercial sustainability through strategic partnerships, licensing, and careful market positioning. The universal business principle revealed by Vincent's story is that excellence without sustainability equals eventual failure. Markets reward value over perfection. Innovation must serve commercial viability rather than existing for its own sake. The most brilliant engineering achievements mean nothing if the company producing them cannot survive to continue innovating. In an industry that demands both performance and profit, can engineering brilliance survive without business wisdom? Vincent proved the answer is no. The motorcycles that once defined the outer limits of performance now sit in museums and private collections, technical masterpieces from a company that engineered everything perfectly except its own survival. Vincent's legacy lives in collectors' garages, engineering textbooks, and business school case studies, reminders that the pursuit of perfection requires financial sustainability. Their motorcycles remain legendary, but their business lessons are more valuable. Excellence means nothing if you're not around to maintain it. The market ultimately decides what constitutes value. Vincent built motorcycles for a market that did not exist at sufficient scale. The engineering that made them legendary also made them extinct. Perfect machines from an imperfect business, symbols of both technical brilliance and commercial failure.